Hey everyone, Roxabox90 here with my next part of my full Theros set review, and now we're going to deal with black. We're going to tackle the darkness, starting with Erebos, God of the Dead. We already talked about Erebos. I don't think he's quite there for constructed. He's just not, but I think EDH he has some potential. The problem is I really don't like it's 1 and a black, pay 2 life to draw a card. The fact you need to pay 2 life is going to really limit him. Obviously, in limited, it'll be nice just because he's a big body, and he prevents your opponent from gaining life, which hopefully if you're running, let's say, an aggro build, that would be pretty nice. But it's just a little expensive for its card draw. It's not quite there yet. Thoughtseize is huge, awesome. Thank you for bringing it back, Wizards. It's going to be the staple and probably only good sorcery, only good as in only really powerful multi-format sorcery that we're going to see in the set, which is kind of sad. But it's pretty much the case. It's the only real money, not just money in terms of worth, but money in terms of playability. Multi-format, awesome. So yeah, huge. Definitely also another card for newer players. Don't pass this up in a draft, even if it's not a card you need for your deck, just because it's going to be worth money. It's going to be a trade stock. Don't miss it. Aberrant Overlord is going to be huge and limited. I'd like to say it has potential as a finisher in constructed, but I just think it's a little on the expensive side. But in limited, it's going to be ridiculous, and for newer players, it's going to be a lot of fun. Cavern Lamphead is, I think, a little overcosted. The Bestow for sure is. The Intimidate might be okay in limited, but otherwise, it's it's definitely not anywhere near your first bunch of picks. Read the Bones is pretty awesome. I think it actually has some potential in constructed. I don't think it's quite there, but it has some potential. Rescue from the Underworld is an awesome, an awesome reanimates effect. EDH will definitely see some play. It actually does have potential filling in for reanimator decks in standard. It's going to be one of those cards that goes into the build, and it is constructed viable for sure. Excuse me. Grey Merchant of Asphodel is 2/4. Each opponent loses X life for extra devotion, and you gain life. Obviously, in limited, this is going to be a big deal because it'll be mid-game, so it'll give you a lot of, hopefully you'll be very ahead with him, and even if you play very late game, if you have things like Aberrant Overlord or a number of creatures out, it's going to be a really, really solid pick. I think in limited, it's for a common, it's excellent. Night Howler is big. I don't know why they have some graveyard stuff in a set like this. They just had Innistrad. There's really no clear reason why they have it here, so I don't know what's going on. But Night Howler is one of the better bestows, and will definitely be limited viable, no questions asked. Dark Betrayer is too specific, maybe a sideboard card, but maybe it would not be a top pick. Obviously, it's nice that it's really powerful, cheap removal, but it's very specific, so sideboard pick. Hero's Downfall will be maybe not a first pick in limited, but a really solid pick, and it will see constructed play. It's very versatile for its cost, and it will be a multi-format card because it will definitely see play in EDH. It has potential in modern just because it's very versatile, even if it's 2 black. I don't think it's quite. I think it's basically being printed just to be a better murder, which is kind of sad because it's not nearly as cool as murder. And it will be a money card because it's a rare for some reason. Hythonia the Cruel is a huge limited bomb. She has potential as a finisher in black, and in EDH she's going to be a big deal in that a lot of mono black decks will love her. I will definitely be picking one of her up for my black deck, and she'll be a solid, fun general to play with, I think, for sure. Tormented Hero, 2/1 for 1, hits the play tapped, but the heroic effect is kind of nice, and of course a 2/1 powers is very, very cool. So again, this has some constructive viability, but we still have Rakdos Cackler out there, so I don't know if it's quite there yet. Limited, it's fine. Whip of Erebos, as I already talked about, it's going to be very, very nice in EDH, no question. It's going to be used in a bunch of decks, and I think it actually is either there or just about there for constructed Reanimator. If the format slows down a little bit, I think this card will, excuse me, see some play. Ordeal of Erebos, like the rest of the ordeals, is good and limited. Agent of Fates is really, really viable for limited. It's just great, and it's also very close to constructed. I'm not quite sure if it's there, but it's very close, especially for mono black or black, black blue control, whatever. It's pretty solid. Keepsake Gorgon is a lesser Hythonia. It's fine for limited. It's more than fine. It's fantastic for limited. It's removal on a stick, but otherwise it's not going to see much play. Then we get to the new cards, which are really sadly lacking in black. They're just not that good. Asphodel Wanderer has regenerate for 3, but it's probably going to die long before then. It's terrible. Baleful Eidolon, we can't really see. It has Death Touch, so Death Touch isn't terrible to give to a creature, but the Bestow is very expensive, so nah. Blood Toll Harpy, whenever it enters the battlefield, each player loses 1 life. 3 for a 2/1. Again, even with flying, if 3 is just a bit expensive for what it is. Boon of Erebos, it gives regenerate to a creature. You have to lose 2 life though. It's terrible. Cutthroat maneuver. Why is this the up to 2 target creatures for black? Why does it cost 4 when in a bunch of other ones it only costs 1? It's fine. It's nothing super crazy, so I don't know why it costs 4, but that's going to definitely make it difficult to run. Maybe if you're running heavy heroic and limited, but I think it's too expensive. Disciple of Phoenix. It's a very narrow removal spell, a removal creature. Erebos' Emissary. You can't really see what it does, so I can't really say any good or bad on this card. Fell-Eyed Minotaur is terrible. 3 for 2/3 flat. It's not great. Fleshmade Steed, it's 2 for a 2/2, but it taps whenever another creature dies, which is horrible. Insatiable Harpy, it's 2/2 flying lifelink. Why, when we have Vampire Nighthawk in existence, why is this card default worse? It's an uncommon, and yet it doesn't have Death Touch, and it costs 1 more. Ugh, it's just frustratingly not as good as Vampire Nighthawk. And we just had Vampire Nighthawk reprinted in the last couple of years, so I have no idea why. Lash Whip is Wizards telling us that we're going to make black worse and limited because it's 4-4 for 4, but we just had Grasp into Darkness and Scars of Mirrodin that was 2 black for that effect. So why are we paying 5 mana for it? I don't get it. That's really expensive for removal. Yeah, it's very aggravating why it costs that much mana. Obviously, it's a pickup in limited because it's a good removal, but it's really annoying. Loathsome yeah, it's just a weird creature. 3/3 for 6 that can do some fun stuff, but the fact that it costs 6 mana is already way too much. March of Return returns 2 creature cards for 4, so it's it doesn't give us a creature, and it's 2 times Gravedigger. It's okay. In limited, it'll restock. That's about it. Mogus Marauders, 3 for 2/2. Tap X creatures and each gain Intimidate and Haste until end of turn. Up to X creatures gain Intimidate and Haste, where Devotion is equal to black. This card actually I think is pretty solid and limited. It'll be really, really nice to land, but it's kind of funny that you have to play it. I mean, for late game it'll be really nice because you have a lot of mana, but if you're playing it early, you won't really have to give the haste. But the Intimidate is a big deal, so I think it will be definitely limited viable. Phyracris' Cure, it does 2 damage to a creature for 2 black. That's way too difficult to mana cost. Return Centaur, mills 4 for some weird reason. It's not a good card anyway. Return Phalanx is 2 for 3/3. Oh, it's good, but it has Defender. Moo. And then it costs 2 to make it attack as though it didn't have Defender. It's too expensive. Maybe on an aggro curve, but no, it's just terrible. Scourge Mark, it cantrips for 1, it gives 1+0 for 2. That's just too expensive. Really, Wizards? Sip of the Hemlock, destroys a creature for 6 mana. Its control loses 2 life. It's 6 mana, guys, at sorcery speed. Way too slow. Really? That's so slow. I mean, you're going to pick it up because it's a good removal, but that's it. It's, really, Wizards, what's going on here? And Viper's Kiss is probably the one solid limited card. 1 black to enchant a creature, and it gets 1/1, and its activated abilities can't be activated, so you throw this on one of the gods, you throw it on big creatures, and this will be a very, very solid card for limited. It's almost like a pacifism in effect against a lot of the bigger creatures and more dangerous creatures' abilities. So I think for 1 black, that's really solid. But really, black is just really sad. So much sadness here. I mean, there's goodness, but for limited, there's a lot of sadness. Ugh. All right, let me know your guys' thoughts about black below in the comments section. Stay tuned for future Theros review videos. Roxbox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.